I couldn't think of anything clever. So hey, how's it going, everybody? No, it's not. Bust out your oranges and your cannolis. Tonight we're gonna watch The Godfather. Well, we already watched it. Sorry, you guys missed out on it. We should do a live stream when we watch these films. But anyways, I am JP Sterno, and you are here. Welcome to the Oya Cinema Club. And also, we are joined by our lovely co-host, of course, Michaela, and also Steve Dez, Jason Eccles, El Dondino, Naomi Guerra, and of course, Isaac is back. He's been gone for a while. He's being chased by LAPD at the moment in Englewood. We wish him well.
This is like an OJ situation, but like first person point of view.
Right.
I feel like Isaac should have like 80s pop music playing behind him while he drives.
That's a good idea.
Isaac also looks like he's in one of the scenes of The Godfather, because they have a few of them just like in the car, and it's lit very much like what Isaac is lit, where you can see the lights from outside of the car and just a silhouette of Isaac. So very on point.
Oh, really?
Just a very mysterious ambiance. I'll say,
So JP,
okay, so
why did you bring us here?
why did I bring us here? So our theme of the moment is picking the next movie based on something relating to the last movie, whether it be the same writer, actor, or editor. The last movie that we saw, Death Becomes Her, I really liked the makeup, so I wanted to see what other films this makeup artist did. And most of them were kind of like the same kind of vibe, kind of like schlocky horror, kind of like B-movies. But then I was surprised to see that he did Godfather Part 1 and 2. So I decided to pick Godfather Part 1 as a way to deviate from the previous films that we watched before. And also, it's been a while since I revisited this movie. And it's one of the few movies that on first watch, I knew that I was going to enjoy it. I love this movie. I even said on the last one, I said one of my favorites. I would definitely, if not top 10, top 15. But here we are. We watched Francis Ford Coppola's Mario Puzo's The Godfather, and we're gonna go straight into initial thoughts. Is there anyone here? I know that in the last review, it seemed like a lot of us have seen this movie, but is there anyone here in the group that has not seen it and this is their first time watching it? Oh shit, really, guys? Okay.
We're all about it.
I want to hear your guys' first thoughts since this was really the first time you guys saw it.
Steve?
Ladies first, you rude Paraguayan.
That's why I said Steve. Burn!
It's just Nelly.
Why is being a woman a burn?
Oh. We got canceled. What do you think of the movie? I know that you liked it.
Like, this has been one of those films ever since I went to college. I was like really nervous watching, so I keep pushing it off because everyone's like, this is the movie of all films that like is perfect. And I really did enjoy it. I enjoyed it so much, in fact, that I did end up watching the other two because I really wanted to see how the story finished. Like, the cinematography is beautiful, the acting for most of them are spectacular. Yeah, it was a good experience.
And back to Dez.
Initial thoughts, first impressions. My first time watching it, same thing as Michaela. Like, I knew this was like a film you gotta watch, but because my life became busier and busier and busier, I never really got to it. And I think the only opportunity I had to really watch it was when I was a little younger, and I think just watching how long the movie was intimidated me. I was like, this is a little long. But now, as a grown-up, actually appreciating and watching it, it's a great, great piece of film. one of the things that I mean, there's many things that really were outstanding to me in the film, from the cinematography to, of course, the acting. But I really, really couldn't resist to pay attention so much of the lighting on this film. Like, the lighting was so good, and for me to really appreciate lighting in movies, it really requires a lot. But there's so many things about this movie that I can talk on and on about how great it is. And again, first time watching, a great piece of film.
True that. Anyone else want to share their first initial thoughts?
No, we're good. Yeah, sure. I'll go. I can't remember when the first time I watched this. I mean, the first time I watched it, it might have been in Spanish, just on regular Paraguayan TV. But I've seen it a bunch, and for a while, it was one of my favorite movies. Definitely had my Al Pacino phase multiple times. It comes and go. Al Pacino is like one of those ex-girlfriends that he's like the booty call, that no matter what, I can always go back to Al Pacino, and it'll be good. uh, so I really enjoyed it, as a kid, and would watch it on cable, and then every so often I would watch it. I had the trilogy on DVD. But yeah, it's been maybe 10 years since I last watched it, and so I noticed, watching it again, I recognize a bunch of, or not I recognize, but I feel like I noticed things I hadn't noticed before, and that was cool. And maybe it's like the new high definition version that I watched, that it's like it came out so much clearer, and like the movie producer, like on his bedstand, there's an Oscar that I had never noticed before. But on his nightstand, it's like there's a rolled up screenplay and an Oscar, and I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. And then I guess the whole cannoli part also, I guess I must have noticed it, but this time it was really clear that you could see the Statue of Liberty, like in the background, which I don't remember seeing that. I think because it's always, the action is on the actual car, and like the shooting, and then the line of like, leave the gun, bring the cannoli. That I never was just kind of like, oh, that's a Statue of Liberty back then. So stuff like that, I definitely noticed this time around, and yeah, it still holds up. It's really cool. And Michaela, you should read the book. The book is amazing, especially now if you watched all the movies. And I recommend anyone out there, if you like The Godfather, read the book, because the book is actually a combination of The Godfather and The Godfather Part Two, and it kind of divides the chapter into like in The Godfather Part Two, as when they're looking at Don Corleone as a kid and when he's young, and then the next chapter is like present time, which it follows Al Pacino's character. So, highly recommend the book.
Will do.
That's what I gotta say about that.
Naomi, why don't you bless us with your take?
Absolutely. Keyword classic. I've seen this a couple times, and I've had a chance to catch something new. It's like one of those Napoleon Hill self-helps where you have to like watch it over and over and you catch something new. And just like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, it's one of those classics that makes its way into cartoons. Disney's Zootopia has copied this film, at least the first scene. And yeah, those are my first thoughts. I believe this film is perfect. Nothing wrong with it.
Damn, high praise.
Very high praise indeed. I would second that emotion. I'll go ahead and give you guys my first hot impression. Not my first time seeing it. Seen this movie a bunch. The first time I actually ever saw it was the chronological version. So it was part 1 and 2 all cut into just one,
Really?
chronological thing.
Oh,
And so for years, I thought that was The Godfather. Like, this is pretty dope. And it was a totally different movie because of the way. But anyways, I digress. I still love this movie, man. I've seen it. I've seen different cuts of it. I've seen it different ways. And no matter how you slice it, it might be the best one ever made. That's my opinion. I think everyone who watches it kind of gets it. I love that. I love that we broached the idea a little bit with. We always hear that this is the Holy Grail movie, and sometimes we sort of like stray away from it because, like, for whatever reason, you like, I don't want to get into like the best movie ever for some reason. But when you watch it, because that was kind of my take on it too when I first seen it, and when you watch it, you're like, oh crap, I get it now. I see why everybody can't shut up about this thing. It really is what it's advertised to be. I love the movie, man. And, every time I watch it, I get a little something different out of it. Like the most recent time watching it, I felt like it was more of a story about immigrants this time. Trying to like make their way in America. Like, and I don't think I really felt that so much. Maybe my first couple viewings of it, but I guess I'm looking through it through a different lens now.
What do you think those first times watching that would it be?
Gangster flick.
Okay, just flat out gangster.
Yeah, this is a gangster flick. That was probably the main focus. I want to see some gangster shit.
And also, like Fast and the Furious, it was all about the family.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go.
That's a fact that no one can deny. So I think for me, this movie holds up. It'll probably continue to hold up. I love how you mentioned how it's been parodied in all these cartoons and whatnot. And this movie's been parodied ad nauseum for years. And it never gets old. It always keeps showing up in kid stuff, other movies, TV shows, just even as little bits. And it probably always will. Because this movie has had an impact on all of us. And there's so many quotables, and the performances are so great that it turns the whole thing into like a larger than life experience. It's a part of our pop culture, this film. So I love it. I think it's great. Yeah, that's my now impression.
Yeah, true. Alrighty, Isaac, do you want to give a little quick thought or shout to the movie?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Oh, if you want to give your thoughts or opinion on the film, only if you can. It's chill.
Oh no, yeah. My first impressions were that it was the first time that I really experienced something that was more than a movie experienced before. Like, I experienced their culture, like it was weird than what I was exposed to. And the first, like, acting was really good, but it transcended good acting. Like, it was like real. Did you guys get that?
We got it, baby.
Yeah, we got it. I like it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that was my first.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Anyway, go JP. Go JP.
No, it's all good. Yeah. What else can be literally be said? I mean, I think once again, this is not my first time watching this movie. One of the few things that did stuck out to me, oddly, like what Des said, the lighting was something that I did notice this time around. There's so much use of yellow, orange, and shadows. Like, this is probably the most like visually darkest film that we've seen, but like in a good way. You could still see the actions and like the purpose of the frame, but it uses the shadows so fucking well. It uses dark really good in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And also just the passage of time. And I think I felt that a little bit more this time around because, spoiler alert, we saw 3 of them. So like this time around, like the first film, there's no little clues to tell you the passage of time, how many years has gone by. So you are really like just watching this film, kind of at the mercy of like how long has passed, how much time has passed. And the only clue for me was the children in the movie. You see people, these people having babies. You have those babies end up growing up to be children, and they bring out a few times where like certain years have already passed in the film. So this time around, that was one thing that I noticed a big way was time. And like how Jason said, like the first time that I saw this film, I saw it as a gangster movie as well. But then after watching all three, especially the first, it almost now feels like like straight up like a tragedy. Like you see like this good man just fall into the depths of like just the worst of mankind, evil and stuff like that. And without trying to bring up the other two films, try to redeem himself for it. But in the first film, that's what we see, the first steps of his, falling from grace and embracing this new life that his family is a part of. So that's the first thing that I kind of like really took and embraced this time around. So since Des brought it up and in his first impressions, let's talk about the visuals, like the lighting for sure. Like, what did you guys feel about the visuals of this film? Because I know like the lighting was a big deal, and there's not too many like moving shots in this movie. A lot of it was very just still and stagnant, but with purpose. Like you didn't need any fancy tricks of the camera. You didn't need any fancy editing. Like, what do you guys feel about the visuals of this film?
I think he was very smart about how you would perceive each individual image. Like the fact that like the ending, there's a reason why that's so iconic. He has like a very balanced shot where you see him doing business in the room from an outside perspective, and he closes the door, and like the door is straight in the middle, and like a lot of these shots are very symmetrical. Like you can tell that he thought out each specific moment as a picture, as a painting to tell his story.
True that.
So, yeah.
I will say, I even checked. That first scene is 27 minutes long, and by first scene I mean the wedding, right? I mean, and the way that it's so just the way that they immerse you into the world, I think, is just shot beautifully.
Yeah, the first act is the wedding.
Yeah, basically, and you kind of have the fish out of water.
Let me just add to that.
Yeah.
The fact that they did like a whole wedding that I'm sure they had tons of footage of, and this movie, even though it's 3 hours long, to me every scene felt important and efficient.
Yeah. I will add though, I don't know if you guys know who Robert Evans is. Bob Evans. He was a producer, and he did A Love Story, and also he was in this. And there's a great documentary called "The Kid Stays in the Picture," and that's about him in Hollywood and all that. And he has a huge beef with Ford Coppola, and him in his memoir and interviews constantly was like, Ford Coppola just like had like completely gutted the film and basically had shown like the movie, and Robert Evans was like, this movie is supposed to be about the family. And so like, but apparently the original cut like barely had any wedding stuff, or just didn't have so much of the family, and it was because of the other producers that actually made Francis Ford Coppola kind of go back and either reshoot or just put those scenes back in. So that's an interesting, definitely backstory to it. But regardless, it came out pretty darn good. And just again the lighting and from the scenes of the dark and the light which has a lot to do also with good and evil, right? What scenes are in shadows and what scenes are without shadows. Yes. Guerra.
Anyone?
My mind was cinematography wise, scenes and everything. It was perfect. Color palette, amazing. Yeah, like it's a masterpiece. Like I can't say more or less. I just feel like it's perfect the way it is, you know. That's I'm just elsewhere in my mind. Sorry, guys. I'm doing some notes.
It's all good.
Yeah, I think the cinematography is amazing in this movie. Full on amazing. I like the word that Steve used, efficient. The cinematography was really efficient. It makes you focus on the thing they want you to focus on, like in every shot. You know, it pays a lot of attention to eye lines and you know how the audience are seeing stuff. And I forgot about that one scene at the end that Michaela had mentioned, the closing door.
Oh yeah.
That's one of the best moments in cinema history. It's so good, and that's been parodied a bunch of times. I remember the first time I saw that, thinking to myself like, "Whoa, this is a really good movie." Like closing on such a strong note like that, just the image, just the tableau of knowing like everything Michael didn't want to be, he is full on it now. You know, there's no turning back.
Yeah.
And it's just this beautiful, beautiful moment that they tell this story without. They don't really need the words for it. It's just the camera and what the camera catches, and then the
and the music.
and the music. It's all there, and that's great filmmaking. When you can tell a story with just images and music and sound, and no one says a word, and the audience, we all know what it means.
Yeah.
True. I know for me, like, because I saw this film, I decided to watch it twice. And the first time I saw it, I thought it was actually makeup, but I felt that Al Pacino's character was aging. So I thought that, oh, it's obviously, you know, subtle makeup on, you know, his face, you know, like you see him transform from this kind of bright young man to a much more angry, angry but very stern and precise, you know, gentleman. But it was actually second time around I watched. It's like, oh no, that's actually the light. He's literally like, as the film goes on, they show less light on him. Like he gets more into like in the shadows and whatnot. And you know, it's part of his character's evolution. Is that, you know, by the time that he becomes the Godfather, you know.
Also, throughout the pretty much the second part of the movie, he's got a broken jaw or a broken cheekbone. So that, and the makeup there is at times feels a little inconsistent, but yeah, it goes to like black and purplish and kind of yellow tones even at times. That's
question. How long was he in Italy for? Because he had that whole bruise for like a while, and then he got quickly married. And I had the question as to like how long was he in Italy for? Because that whole makeup stayed on for too damn long.
But I mean, it's broken. They mention, I don't know, maybe it's not in the movie, but definitely in the book they talk about it. They talk about that it's broken, and because he had to like scram and get out of the country, he wasn't able to like get it fixed. And then he's kind of in hiding there in Italy, and so there just isn't any place to go to actually kind of fix that, and like you know, and that's why then when he's in Vegas, I was gonna say Fredo like looks at him and is like, oh, it's so clean. And so like he had clearly at that point gotten, you know, work done on his face to fix the broken cheekbone.
Oh,
that's why when he gets hit, he's like basically passed out, like just broke his face.
I didn't take that into consideration because I know that we were asking like before, you know, during the wedding scene in Sicily, is like, how long have you had your bruise last? So I did not take that into consideration that
it
like,
was broken.
that he had to just fucking like because even like in my second viewing, I didn't realize that the time that the Turk character set up the meeting, like the beginning towards when the meeting take place. I assumed that took place in the span of a few days. I did not know that that was just in the film a single day. Like they only had hours to figure out how to take him out by the time that Michael has to go to this like get together at this diner at the night. So
and definitely, I mean, there's definitely more of a span. You can even talk about at the beginning of the movie, once it kind of goes into Christmas, they talk about 1946 is coming around. And then at certain points, different things pop up to where kind of what year it's been. And then when he comes back and he meets up with Kay, and she's like, "How long have you been here?" And he's like, "A little over a year." And then he's like, "Or more." And then if you think about the age of the kid, when he's talking about like he's reading the funny papers, it's like 3 years. And so if you think about like his kid is 3 years old, he had already, it's from the movie probably ends like in 56 or mid 50s to almost late 50s. The Godfather Part 1. It's a pretty long stretch of time for sure. You had asked, and for instance, the whole meaning thing. This is why I recommend the book. The book just has so much backstory on the characters, from the flower guy and is it Bonacera? No, what's the mortuary guy?
No, it's Bonacera.
It is Bonacera. Like
Yeah.
his whole background and like what he's thinking and feeling. The baker, like that whole scene, and then also Luca Brasi. There's so much information on Luca Brasi in the book, and it talks about how he actually kind of goes in and starts doing odd jobs for the other side. So by the time in the movie, you just see kind of like a jump in time of like him being told go and try to find out everything to then like him finally reaching that point where he can finally meet the Turk, or the other. And that's why there's small hints like, I've heard you're not happy. That's not one day to another day. That's like he's picking up all these side jobs from them. So
was anybody else disappointed that they couldn't see Luca work in the movie?
Yes, and I know that like Dino said, like I have never read the book, but I know he's a bigger part in the book because they set him up so high, and his introduction to us in the film is so great. Like you kind of get it's almost whimsical in a way, like really this kind of gentle giant sort of persona, but they say like no, he's pretty damn tough, and his loyalty is not to be questioned. He'll never question or say wrong to the Don because of what Vito has done for him, and finding life with Vito and with the Corleone family. So for him to only have just straight up kind of 2 scenes, I thought it was nuts. I was like, what? And they make a big deal as well when Sollozzo says when Tom Hagen is kidnapped on Sollozzo, and he tells Sollozzo, it's like, well, Sonny may be able to play ball, but you got to deal with Luca. And by this point in time, he's already dead. So it's like, fuck. So
I think it works just because it creates this mythology around him. So it is that thing, like the book has like all these intricacies, but with how long the film already is, it's almost like
you can make a TV show called Luca Brasi.
Yeah,
like a limited series.
Probably.
That's very Disney Star Wars.
What?
I was like, that's very Star Wars, making a series out of like a one-off character.
Well, like them doing the whole Pennywise, right? The Alfred, right? His whole back, you could do that of Luca Brasi, just like, what he did, what was he was young. And in the book, they talk about how he got in touch and with Vito Corleone anyway and all that. But yeah, I think like he's such a big guy that it's just like, I mean, Kay says it to begin with. He's scary. It's like that's like one of the first things you find out in the movie. There's this scary motherfucker talking to himself.
Yeah.
And he stutters. So yeah, it's one of those times where I think for the movie, less is more. You know, just like for that character, it's like,
Well, maybe you're right. Maybe it's like a Game of Thrones thing where it's like we know how powerful Luca is, and he gets taken out early. That's how big the threat is. They took out the best. They took out the best, your best hitman in the before the second act is finished.
and how they had
You're
to
in
do
trouble.
it also.
Yeah.
Like it was like hold hands, like stab, like it wasn't just a simple, you know, it was like
No.
he's gonna struggle. I mean, all these death scenes, just to begin with, are epic, which is another thing of just like being done and either spoofed or whatever. But the over dying, it was clearly they were just doing the little blood squids and stuff like that. Like James Caan, like it's just out of this world. Which kind of going, which people were saying of their favorite kind of, like it was in Zootopia, and I forget what you were mentioning, that it was in something else. My favorite kind of like, I guess, was in the Late Show with Conan O'Brien, when before he got the Tonight Show and all that. Every Thanksgiving, they would show how like the turkey was killed for Thanksgiving, and he was doing this bit for I don't know how many years. And then one of the years, they reenacted the whole final act of like the church and the killing off of all the families, but they're all turkey. So there's a turkey that's getting a back rub and like puts on glasses, and the turkey gets shot. There's a turkey walking down like steps, and he gets shot by the cop. Another one gets stuck in the door, like identical. To me, it is one of the best spoofs of almost any movie, of just like really how you kill your Thanksgiving dinner, do it the same way as The Godfather. It was brilliant.
Mentioned Zootopia since I recently watched it. They copy the wedding scene.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You come to me." And I cannot do it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop. Anyway,
my God is waiting. Because he's a squeaky little bastard.
yes. And it's perfect the way they made his like facial expressions on that little mole rat or whatever no, it's not a mole rat, it's like a little mole, but they have everything to like the little, it's perfect. I suggest you guys watch that scene on YouTube or something. It's perfect.
Yes. To sidetrack, but still on topic. This could be a false memory, because I know the scene with Waltz and his horse, that has been parodied to death as well. But I have a vague memory that I think I like of all shows. I think the Rugrats also parody that scene where it's the head of like those rocking horses, and it's in the
Absolutely. I remember that.
Like oh my gosh! Like out of all the scenes, if we want, is Isaac available to give like a little tidbit or a thought on either visuals or basically whatever we were talking about earlier?
I think we lost him.
Not at the moment. We lost him.
Oh shit! Fuck.
Yeah, he's being held captive. Like he's our Robert Duvall.
Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
They held him hostage so long that he wasn't in the third movie. Can you believe that?
Hey-o.
Oh wow. Hopefully he comes back and it's not fucking LAPD being assholes again. So I guess does anyone else remember, like, since we're kind of on the subject, like anything else from like pop culture that they obviously could tell, like, because I know there was a few that you noticed, like that you knew has been in other things, but you never seen the film before. But like that's how pop culture works. You don't even have to know the movie or the source itself. If it's been satirized to death.
Well, I mean, I guess this really shows that this is a film for film lovers. You know, just because like how tight and like that's why everyone wants to copy it.
Yeah,
is because it looks so good. But yeah, no, there's like so many different things because like I know the door thing has I've definitely seen that somewhere. Can't remember off the top of my head, but I've definitely seen it. There was like
Probably
a lot of
The
moments.
Simpsons. I'm they've been
Probably.
so many.
I was thinking that same thing too. Sorry.
Probably, but like there was just like so many like moments where I was just like, I've seen this before.
Yep.
I mean, one of the best, you know, because it can be very stereotypical or whatever, but I think, and it became, I mean, just the whole Mario Puzo and like how he came up with the idea of writing, like the whole, there's so much history to just like, before this was a movie, just for the book of kind of what transcribed and all that, which is super interesting. But also to me, one of the other great examples of it kind of being like postmodern and just pop culture is all the references in The Sopranos that they bring up, because
Oh yeah.
it's like one of their favorite, you know, they're like mobsters, and so they're constantly either quoting it or making fun of it, because it's like, you know, the whole thing of like, just this one time I'm gonna let you ask anything, you know. And at the same time, they, like, Tony Soprano's neighbor, like they've only seen like The Godfather, so that's what they think Italian mobsters are. So then Tony starts to fuck with them by doing things from The Godfather or Godfather Part 2, like, here, I got this package, hold it for me, I'll come back and get it. And it's just a package of sand. And then, you know, but the neighbors are freaking out. So stuff like that is like a really kind of clever way of not overdoing it, in the sense that, hey, we're mobsters, let's make fun of this other, you know, property. So yeah.
Ooh.
Right.
We got a new person. Pew, pew, pew.
We did.
Was it?
Hey,
We wanted to know, like, if you could give like either like anything visually from the film that stood out, or any like stuff in the film that you've seen before in like other references or pop culture.
I guess like, what is it? Tiny Tim, that Warner Brothers show.
Animaniacs.
Yeah, that one. I've seen some of,
Yeah.
I've seen it parodied in there. What was the question? I'm sorry.
Anything visually striking from the film that also, like, as well.
Yeah, I think the framing and even the blocking is it tells so much with what's going on, and the cuts, there aren't a lot of cuts, so you're pretty much there, and the scene just swells, and it just, like, the whole movie is that. And I think that's excellent storytelling, that you allow the audience to just like soak in, like you trust your audience, not relying on so many cuts to keep their attention. You allow the what's going on to just consume them.
Very, very true. Very much so. Like, it's so quiet. Okay, so we talked about pop culture visuals. Of course, this is a huge ensemble cast. I know that we brought up a few characters.
Wait. I got a pop culture reference before we move on. So this is kind of meta, right? So the scene in the wedding where Tommy, whatever his name is, he comes in, the movie star.
Yep.
Oh, Johnny Fontaine.
So
Frank Sinatra, you mean?
Yeah, that really happened. That was Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
And they ripped that story right out of real life. That happened with Frank Sinatra. He was trying to get into From Here to Eternity, and he wanted the part, and somebody made it happen for him.
Yeah, well, there are a bunch of different, you know, characters that are based, you know, loosely based or right out of, you know, what actual people were. But that, I mean, that's the big one. You know, it's just good old Frank Sinatra. And again, in the book, you follow him for a while. and like kind of, and you follow the that director producer also for, so like you see a lot of that of Hollywood and kind of like that world for a while. So it's really interesting. Even, yeah, there's so much. Read the book, guys. It's like this is a pretty much close to near perfect film, and the book is so, it's such a beautiful, little add-on, like morsels of deliciousness to add on top of the movie.
Too bad this is Cinema Club nerd. Am I right, guys? Cool.
At least I know Michaela is behind me on
Oh,
this
that's
one.
right. Michaela's also into the books.
Yeah, into the books.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm adding a tip to the driver.
Yeah, but no, I mean, but that's something that comes up a lot when it's like the books versus the movie. It's just what they don't realize is books have it's a better medium to get the like richness and like give you all the details. Like you can do that in a book. Whereas film, you really have to be smart about which detail can you show and which detail is something that you can hide in the background or not even mention at all.
Right.
So it's almost like a different standard.
See, when you said that, all I could think about are like the subtle uses of oranges in this film, opposed to like the blatant overuse of oranges in the third film.
Mm-hmm. That's an excellent example.
But we're not here to talk about the third movie.
Yeah. I do think probably one of the, just keeping up with like pop culture references and all that, probably the whole Fredo thing has been brought up a bunch, right? That's a huge thing in which there's definitely more of him in the second movie, but just the idea of like, oh, you're Fredo. What? I'm not. Like so many different TV shows, movies. I feel like that always comes up. The whole "I know it was you." I mean, oh, that's spoilers.
So brilliantly done by the actor John. How do you say his last name?
It was with a C, I believe.
John Caan. I don't even remember, but he's in so many things.
Yeah.
And he died way too young. But it's funny, like all you need to do is watch this first movie to know, like he's like out of everyone, like he's the weakest one, and it's crazy because he's like only second to Sonny, technically in the family, but he's basically glossed over just because of like how somewhat incompetent he is in the film, But it's funny because like even the weaker characters in this movie, like they're just so well done, and you still like you kind of still want to root for them and whatnot. Like okay, like since I'm kind of bringing it up, like anyone have a favorite character in the ensemble or like favorite, least favorite? How about that? It's such a huge cast, Like, and it could be for any reason, like whether they were portrayed well, or you didn't think that the acting was all too good, or you just straight up love their character so much that you hate them. Like, I know, like for me, my least favorite character has to be Sollozzo, only because like he's such a bastard, like a slimy piece of shit. But like he's done pretty damn well in this movie. But like out of all of them, you feel like, oh man, he's the one that for sure you just want to see murked. You kind of feel that way about the police captain Koletsky, but it's like, yeah, he's a fucking cop, but like that guy, like Sollozzo, should probably know better than to like try to fuck with the family, even though in a way, like he brings it up, like could he have done this 10 years ago? Like the dawn is slipping. This is a new age. He's just new blood trying to get what he wants, and he ends up being That's my take.
I don't know if I have a character that I hate the most or love them so much I hate them, but the one character that is so cool to me in this thing is Tommy, Robert Duvall's guy, because he's so subtle. He doesn't try to stick out at any point of the movie. The first time I watched this movie, I remember thinking to myself, this guy is really good. Who is this? I had no clue it was Robert Duvall because I had never seen him do anything that young before. And I was like, that's Robert Duvall? This movie's loaded. But yeah, Tommy is just so direct and to the point, and the acting is so real, and it's understated. You know, I think did he win an Oscar for this?
I don't think so.
Well, he
I think
probably was
only
nominated.
Marlon
He
Brando.
nominated. I think he was
Yeah.
nominated for supporting in this one.
I mean, he was incredible. Loved him so much in this thing. Just the consigliere. Like that would be my job probably if I was, because I'm not going to be out killing nobody and rustling up money and stuff. So I'm going to
I
counsel
know.
the
And
guy.
like
You're gonna
in
counsel.
in the
You're
story,
gonna counsel me making JP go and get the cannoli.
That's right.
get the that was funny. Like grab the gun, get the cannoli. No, drop the gun.
Never mind. I'm not gonna send JP. He'll come back with a gun and leave the
Oh my
cannoli.
god! Like, no, there's not. I would be bad at that. I can't be Clemenza. I can't give orders about the fucking cannoli. I don't even know what a cannoli is.
I will say, probably when I was younger, I feel like Clemenza was probably my favorite. I mean, just from like the kind of side characters, he's one of the ones that has the most screen time. I mean, he's dancing in the wedding, and like drinking wine. He's cooking for all the boys, making fun. Like he's really there. So I feel like growing up, like he was kind of like the fun character, which is weird, right? Just because he had some of the more tongue-in-cheek moments, or kind of wink, there's a funny part. But then I will say, I feel like I also got the lightning bolt or thunderbolt by Apollonia when I was younger, for sure. Like I was like, ooh, she gorgeous. So that was the other character, which again, kind of the whole immigrant thing, or just like the American dream type of thing. Yeah, there are, for a while there, I don't know, it was like a death a minute almost, or at least trying to. And yeah, and like she's learning how to drive a car and then wants to, it's just all these things that. So yeah, I would say Clemenza and Apollonia are my two favorite kind of, just side characters. Yes. Anyone else? Characters? No.
I mean,
it's just this film is built on the ensemble. If you didn't have them building this world, I don't think it would have been as successful. Because like there's a reason why even the hench guys are like top-notch actors, because they had to be. So it's hard to just pick one.
Yep.
We should give more props to Diane Keaton, because she was amazing in this. Especially that last scene.
Yeah, like they end the movie with her, which was something I did not remember from previous watches before. I was straight surprised, like, oh, the movie actually ends with her. She's the last thing that we see, in this film. And so, even like the look that she gives to Michael from that perspective is also pretty damn sad. Because because I thought it was so crazy. Like, you believe him? You believe him?
She doesn't, but she has to.
She has to, and you could see it in her eyes as the doors close. Like, that's his world now. And yeah, you basically watch the death of Michael to Corleone, in that moment.
What about the? No, I was going to say something.
I was going to ask, what else did we want to talk about with this movie?
Factoid.
I mean,
cool bits.
The thing about this film is just like once you get past gawking, like it's so hard to talk about. I think the only one who can really get into the nit and gritty really is Coppola himself. Because he made the damn thing.
I know one thing. I mean, he's staring right back at me whenever it's JP on the screen. But we're talking about everyone except for Marlon Brando.
I was just going to wait to see how long it took. I wasn't going to bring him up when I realized nobody else had brought him up. I wanted to see if we're going to get through this whole thing without ever mentioning Brando.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we can't talk about the Don.
I know, right? Well, like just watching it this time again, or every time I watch it, it's like I see something new that he did, right? Or a different choice, or a this and a that. And yeah, I mean, and there's so many stories also of just Marlon Brando and his acting, and and like the cat was just a stray cat on set that he picked up, and
No
was
way.
like, now the cat's in the film, like that kind of crap of just like, and no one being like, Marlon.
But that's a huge part of the parody.
Yeah,
having the cat in your lap and.
Yeah, and it's, I think in one of the posters, it's kind of even like he's like holding it. But yeah, just the different things that, I mean, yeah, the whole bit with his grandkid at the end, like, yeah, watching him every time, I feel like there's a new little twinkle and stuff that I notice that I hadn't before.
I enjoyed also figuring finally out what was having an offer that you couldn't refuse and how that evolved throughout the movie.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's probably one of the most, spoofed lines or just mentioned lines as well.
Mm-hmm.
So much
And also talking about Brando. What about that death?
Yeah.
He died twice.
Right?
Like Jesus Christ.
Like he came. It's so crazy because because Brando, he's not like the character Vito Corleone. He's not a great guy, but like even in this one and even in the second one where you kind of see more of his character, I never saw him as like a villain or a bad person. I like Michael Corleone. I was like, man, that guy, he's a bad guy. Like he for sure is kind of a villain in his own story. But I never felt that way for Vito because he sees everything more regarding like the well-being of his family and almost less to do with power. Like power is a means to help his family, but as opposed to Michael, where it seems like that was the start, but he's getting more into the power aspect as opposed to the family.
Mm-hmm.
He's such a good mirror to Michael.
Foil.
Yeah, a foil, because even he's like, because like just like Michael, Vito is like 5 steps ahead of everyone to the point where he knows who betrayed him in the beginning of the film, and he knows that eventually when he's gone, someone's gonna try to betray Michael, and he warns him, like, hey, when Barzini says that he wants to have a meeting, they're gonna try to kill you, and when that happens, whoever sets up the meeting, that's the traitor in the family. So he must have read the screenplay ahead of time. So,
yeah.
Which is funny because I don't memorize lines.
I think that, I mean, that's probably one of my, and maybe this time just because we had the recall last night. So whenever you guys watch this in the interwebs, the Governor Newsom was not recalled. At the very end, towards the very end, when he meets up with Kay, when Michael meets up with Kay, and she's like, I thought you weren't your father. I thought, your father's a bad guy or whatever. And he's like, oh, he's just doing what he has to do to take care of his family and the people around him and his neighborhood or whatever. And she's like, he kills people. Like he's not a governor or a senator or whatever. And yeah, Michael's like, now who's being naive? Like that line, I think, I feel as you get older, you notice that shit. It's like, yeah, you know what? Senators and they vote on shit. They might not be the ones murking you, like JP would say, but
Some gangster stuff.
It is. They point for someone else to go and do it. So I thought that was huge, right? Because it is, there you go, and you have the whole family thing as well, right? Like, what would you do for your family, for your neighbors, for your friends and stuff like that? So I think, yeah.
Here's a fun. Those are all really great points, by the way. But here's the fun little factoid about Marlon Brando and his association with this film.
Ooh.
So Brando said that after he had filmed this movie and it was out, he said rarely, if ever, did him and his wife ever pay in an Italian restaurant again. Because he goes, these guys will come up to him like, "Oh, Godfather, Godfather, we love you. We love your movie so much. Like, the whole dinner's on us. Let us pay for it." He goes, sometimes it was gangsters. Sometimes it was just regular Italian people. He says, but he doesn't even know if he ever paid again in an Italian restaurant for the rest of his life.
That's
The
funny.
bill was always kind. Maybe that's why he got so fat.
Yeah, right.
It was no
So he was
longer-
getting free Italian food, and Ford Coppola was getting drunk of his own wine.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
Do we still have a bottle of that? Do we have that? We have a Coppola wine bottle, right?
I think so.
Oh.
Also, just to contribute to the parallel one, for some reason, I got a lot of Narcos vibes watching also The Godfather, right? Like some Pablo Escobar.
Mm. Yeah.
Haven't
haven't
seen
heard of him.
that show, so
Haven't heard of him. How so, Steve? What kind? Can you kind of? Is that a specific characters or?
The
Yeah.
Godfather himself, mainly when he was kind of like in those scenes, not towards the end, but more towards like in the beginning when he was like, moving his pieces of the chessboard,
Got it.
and also when he was dying the first time, and he was getting taken care of and like guarded by his goons.
Yeah.
gotcha. Makes sense. I'm sure, like we stated before, like this film is so big that like they must have borrowed some stuff from this movie, being like the number one like fucking gangster movie, and I guess Pablo Escobar deserves same amount of respect, especially since he's a real life character, a real life person. I don't know.
Character?
I don't know, dude.
Character?
I don't think before I speak.
No.
I just fucking speak.
So if we die.
Oh my god! Speaking of death, what was your guys' favorite murk scene in the film? There's so much death in this movie, especially literally at the fire baptism near the end of the film. It's like that is just a montage of people getting murked right there.
Honestly, like to me, the most iconic visually is that damn horse head, man.
Oh my god!
I always wonder though, like, how do you not wake up with that much liquid everywhere?
And plus,
it'd be like one thing if it was like just on a spot, like near his feet, but it was everywhere.
I don't think time-wise it was that night. I think like it was a couple nights later. So I think he probably was drugged so that he wouldn't fucking wake up, with someone sliding a horse head.
I mean, also think about it. We're like really early here with emojis. So like one guy sends a horse head and the other guy sends a salmon. Like
Yeah.
that's how they
that's
send each other messages.
And then Santino sends a eggplant emoji to one of the bridesmaids.
Oh my god!
Which the book also goes way more in depth into that whole relationship as well.
God,
which pretty cool.
I guess
of deaths, I think. I mean, there's so many good ones, right? I mean, just the editing of that final thing of the final clearing out all the families is just majestic. There might not be a better compilation of shit that goes down like that, right? But of just like a singular one, I think it's the cop eating the fucking veal. And just like, because it might be one of the first one where you just hear like gurgling on a movie, right? And still kind of like choking to death, and then falling and tipping like that like oh, man, it's so much fun. No one just like died. It's like if you die, you gotta like knock something over. Like you can't just die. It's one of those we've done. I did it. I think in theater class and even improv. It's just like have fun dying on stage, and it just felt like everyone is like, all right, you're getting murked. Let me see you get murked, but it's gonna take you 2 minutes to die, right? Like even James Caan just coming out of the car, it's like he had already been shot, but he's like, I'm able to open the door and come out. Why? Because that's what I'm gonna do.
Just Swiss cheese that man.
Yeah. So anyway, but I would say it was the police eating his veal and just like gurgling is probably the single kill. That's way the most impressive.
For me, I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna say 2, but I'll give my reason why for the second one. Barzini's death, like literally running up the steps and just being shot from a distance by Al Neri in the back like twice, and like him, like it shows he thought that he was on top, and of course he's on top of the steps, and then he's now tumbling down. That's what it means and whatever. It's kind of obvious, but that's so fucking cool. But also like Mo Green's death to this day still boggles me, like special effects wise.
Mm-hmm.
Like how do they do that? Like we see the glasses break and like just blood pouring out, but like every time I watch that scene, I can't tell where that blood is coming from or how the glasses broke. I'm sure if I Google it.
Well, did you ever see him in another movie after that? Because
for the art. For the art.
So to me, like at first I was thinking the best death was Meryl Streep's character, but then I was thinking, I think Goldie Hawn's one was better.
Oh my god.
Hey-o! Only true Oye Dimelo cinema fans will catch that.
I don't get it.
And if you caught it and you put it in the comments, I'll give you 5 Bitcoin. Jason will actually.
Yeah. Not $5 worth of Bitcoins.
5 whole Bitcoins. That's not true.
Can I do it? Can I be the first one to comment on the video?
God. Make sure to press that notification bell.
Anyway, Steve, do you have an actual death other than Meryl Streep? Which Meryl Streep either was married or engaged to Fredo and was with him through his fight with cancer and all that.
Or they went to college together.
No. So
no, they had a relationship, I think.
No, Meryl Streep was with him, and it was Robert De Niro. No, it was Pacino and him were roommates.
Pacino
and
Cazal?
Yeah, and Cazal. There's also a really good documentary on
oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Cazal. Yeah. Because he was in all these great movies, like back to back, from The Deer Hunter, the Godfather movies,
Dog
Day Afternoon, and all these really powerful performances, and then just disappeared because he passed away. But he was, I think, roommate with Pacino for a while and stuff like that, and so yeah. So interestingly enough, bringing up Meryl Streep, there is another kind of connection to the movie. Behind the scenes, they were together. Did you give you haven't given a death, Steve, did you? Did he answer?
I guess the Pacino's brother that was handling all the things, just because if I'm not mistaken, he was the one he was having an affair, right?
Yes.
And then he was beating on his pregnant wife.
No.
Oh, we're talking about Carlo.
Yeah, you're talking about Carlo.
So Carlo did those things, or these are two things that two different characters did?
No. Carlo is the one that was beating on his wife. His wife being the daughter of Don Corleone, and so Santino, being the brother of her and having a hot temper, would go and then beat up Carlo whenever he would beat up on the wife. So you're kind of mistaken, mixing the characters.
Then that happens when you get high.
Got set up.
What?
That's how it got set up.
Yeah.
Then I would say then when Pacino has that gun implanted in the scene in the restaurant.
Yeah.
Just because of the way they stayed, like I was like, well, at least they had a Last Supper.
Right.
Well, the captain did. Did Salazzo eat his dinner at all?
No, they were just sipping on some wine.
Yeah, poor dude. At least he got to try the veal. So
yeah,
it's the best in the city.
It sure was. It was to die for.
Oh! I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
I will say going to the death when they murk Carlo in the car with choking him, like he breaks the glass, the windshield, like there's so many things that end up breaking or happening. I was like, man, that's they really went for it,
Right.
It's so easy, just again, going back to if you're dying, you better take something else with you, whether it's a tomato plant, whether it's windshield, whether it's a car, anything else. You gotta break something else when you're dying.
It's so crazy too, because he was contorted. Again, this is me my brain escaping and knowing okay, these are people being filmed doing shit, right? He was contorting himself in that car. As did that hurt? It looks like it probably fucking hurt in real life too. Even though it's fake, it's a work of fiction, but he's busting out the window, he's twisting his legs, his whole body, while there's still wire or something to his neck,
Same with Luca Brasi, man. Does getting a knife stuck through your hand hurt? But yeah, just seeing his eyes popping, it's just there's a lot of gory parts definitely in the movie, especially for the time if you think about it, right?
Sometimes I wish The Godfather was still around because I could have gotten so many parts in Hollywood.
What?
Huh?
Oh, I got it. I'm sure there's a Godfather out there that can help you get some parts.
Who is?
It took me a second, but
I got it late too.
Yeah,
but I got it.
I think it was a time difference from Puerto Rico to here. It took me about that much time to make it.
Tell that guy I'm no band leader either. I've heard the story. Oh, side note, wasn't that? I felt that was a turn, wasn't it? How the movie executive, how he treats Tom Hagen like a piece of shit, and then when he realizes, oh, Tom Hagen is actually the lawyer of fucking the Don, right? And so he treats him to dinner. He shows him the horses. But as soon as Tom Hagen says, hey, so we're going to put him in the picture, right? He treats him like shit again. That was such a turn. All that fucking, schmoozing up to just treat him again like an asshole. What the fuck?
It was revealing as a character, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
it's just, go ahead. You say it again.
No, it's just, that's how men act.
Yeah, not only that, give you another. In the book, pedophile. Just putting it out there.
The movie guy?
Yeah, the movie guy. they talk because they have like almost like a Shirley Temple. I think in the movie that scene like when Tom Hagen like shows up at the movie thing and he the director is kind of like saying bye to the girl or whatever. They in the book it talks about basically like his deal with young girls with stars and all that, and it gets into that kind of dark world of just these producers and stuff like that, and them taking advantage of girls. So yeah, so huge d bag. Yeah, so again, just another thing. If you want extra little bits and pieces from the characters and backgrounds, the book definitely dives into, and it makes you like some characters a little bit more, and it makes you hate some characters a little bit more. So, yeah.
Coolio. Before we get into final thoughts, has anybody got anything else they want to say, bring up? I can't think of a joke.
So this is one of the first films that I actually pay attention and see fully Al Pacino acting. And I think this movie you can legit just straight up put it on mute and just watch his eyes. And it gives you all the context you need.
And the studio didn't want him.
Yeah, no.
He was too dark for the studio.
I thought it was his height.
Not good, huh?
I thought it was his height. They didn't like him because he was short or something, right? Plus, he was an unknown at the time.
There's an alarm going on.
I am so sorry.
Like him.
I'm gonna translate what Dino said.
Can you guys hear the
alarm?
Yes, we can.
Okay. You guys talk. Oh, there we go. Okay.
There's lots of reasons why they didn't want Al Pacino. Al Pacino talks about it in great detail in his latest actor studio that he did a couple years ago. You can watch that. Like if you download the Ovation app, they have the last maybe 10 actor studios, and he was one of them from 2019. And he talks about why the studio didn't want him, and what all that was like in his life at that time, and things that were going on around him, and his difficulties with getting into the character, all that stuff. But he really breaks down that section of his life. And yeah, I mean, they used to call him a midget on set, and they were mean to him, and he wanted to quit.
In that film?
Just people. Like,
oh wow,
yeah. Like,
I've never heard that, but I know it was like he was short. He wasn't good looking. Is what they were saying.
They would refer to him as the midget.
Like, but I thought that was just the studio heads and all that.
That's what
it was about. Like Robert Evans and Coppola. Like
nobody wanted him except for Coppola, and he said what ended up happening is that they were like trying to fire him every day from the first day of production. They were trying to fire him. So about 2 weeks into production, he invited all the studio heads. He goes, "Hey, come, we're shooting a scene with Al. When you see this kid in the scene, you're gonna flip or whatever." And the next day, he went to Al Pacino and he was like, "Hey, I'm moving that scene up. It's the scene with the gun scene, the gun in the bathroom scene." He goes, "I'm moving that up." And he goes, "What? No, we're not. We're not ready for that shit yet." He goes, "I got a whole other thing." He goes, "No, we're moving it up." And he said he argued with fucking Francis Ford Coppola, like, "No, man, what are you doing? Like I'm not even prepared for that yet. Like I've been memorizing these lines. Like I don't know." He goes, "We're moving it up. We're shooting it tomorrow morning." And so the studio heads or whatever, they came through and they shot the scene. And he goes, "It saved the movie." He goes, "Whatever Francis knew about me or knew how I would handle that scene," he said that was the one where they said, "Okay, we're going to let it slide. We're going to let you finish the movie with this kid that we don't know." And he later he said he asked Francis, like, why did you make all that happen? How did you make it happen like that? He goes, "I just knew that you could pull that scene off. I knew that you would be good in it. And so I just, took the risk."
Because there are test screen footage of Pacino.
Yeah.
So
a lot of stuff with Diane Keaton.
Yeah. And again, that's in part was just him trying to get the part right of them not wanting. So they had to do a bunch of test screens and all that and still.
But if you guys want the whole story direct from the source, watch his last actor studio.
Or we'll have him on the next one. So
Hopefully we'll get him on the next one.
Yeah. For the people that the people that were gonna, you can either get 5 bitcoins or a sit down dinner with Al Pacino if you guess what the reference was that Steve mentioned earlier in the conversation.
Oi Dimelo Cinema Club is in no way associated with that giveaway. That's all Tino.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so there's so much I think that you can watch to just find out more or read about it. There's the Pacino interviews. There's also, the Robert Evans documentary, The Kid Stays in the Picture. Just so much cool stuff about this particular movie because it's so iconic that everything was pretty well recorded, especially then when the second one came out. Could have been a perfect duel.
I guess the final thoughts on JP.
I think so. I think that's about it. So let's move on to final thoughts. I don't know why I did the voice. I'm tired. Actually, I'm actually not that tired. I'm actually more hungry than tired. This movie made me hungry. They had some. Also, another tidbit. Why before when they sent Michael to the Turk and the police guy? How come they were eating Chinese? I mean, I like Chinese too, but did anyone else think that was weird?
I just figured all cops ate Chinese.
Lobsters had to eat too, and they ain't always got time for cooking.
He said before he went.
He has other jobs.
Or
other jobs.
Was it Chinese or was it just that's how takeout was?
In the Chinese boxes?
Yeah. Back in the day.
Duvall's character had a spring roll on his plate.
Oh, he had a spring roll?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting ready to murk people and have to escape the country, and it's like, let's have a good sit down dinner. No, you're gonna Postmate or Grubhub. Go to your local Chinese place.
I think that Chinese food is the most interesting food to eat on camera. That's what I think.
Italian also, right? I mean, the noodles, just there's a lot of which good. Italian food is actually just Chinese food. That what do you think, Marco Polo? Where do you think he got all that?
I just think the director was ahead of the game and he didn't want to stereotype the film.
Very progressive, very progressive. I was gonna say like props probably fucked up their job so royally that they just went to catering instead. It's like, what do you guys got? Chinese? Cool. We're going to use it for the scene, by the way.
It could very well be that.
Before we go into final thoughts, this is a Dino sidebar, mainly for Steve. How come when JP goes into a sidebar, there's no Dino? How come JP didn't just get one of those too in his little Chinese food sidebar?
My sidebars aren't long enough to merit what a command, and I think Steve already has too many commands ready on his board. I just answered for you, Steve.
Okay, fine. I'll take it.
I speak for Dez. I am the Lorax. I speak for the Dez.
I see how it is.
Okay, so final thoughts, because I am hungry too. I really enjoyed this film. Like I said, like right after I finished watching this one, I actually watched this all the other films that were like available for offer, which kind of lends itself to like what kind of story it is and how interesting it is. Like I'm not typically one for like gangster movies. Like it's not. Well, actually, that's not true. I really like The Sopranos and Goodfellas, but that's besides the point. It's not something I search out for. But no, I'm very.
How right after did you watch the films back You know,
I literally like the day after we watched the first one, I watched the second one and the third one.
Yeah.
Damn.
Which is crazy. JP's little sidebar. We saw, again, we're not talking about this. This is a no-no because we're not talking about the movie again. We saw the Coda cut, so the more recent cut of the film. Oh, there we go. And I've never seen Godfather Part 3. So if the Coda cut is the better cut, I think I could have lived without watching The Godfather Part 3.
Wait, so you're saying The Godfather 3 is like the prequels of Star Wars?
Kind of, in the sense that it's also kind of like released the Snyder cut. Is that what you're saying? That Coppola was like, this is the movie I actually wanted to do? Is that the version you just watched?
Like, this is the best I can do.
Because they have again
the
cut starts with a minute of Coppola, giving like history behind the reason why he made this cut, and you can't help but think, wow, like, is he saying I'm sorry? It feels like an apology.
That apology is to Sofia Coppola more than anything else.
No, she found her lane. Like acting wasn't it, and then she went into directing, and she's a much better director.
Yes.
So his version, clearly you guys didn't see the other version. I know that. Was it good? Or was it? Did it fall flat? Because if it fell flat, then I guess not much.
It's like watching a train wreck. Like I had so much fun watching it because it was so much worse compared to the other two. Like the other two, like I couldn't like turn to JP and like have fun with because it was just like, no, I have to like take in all the detail. Whereas this third movie was just like, and let's find the oranges in this scene, boys and girls.
Did you guys watch the new cut of it?
Yeah,
we watched the new cut of the third one.
Yeah,
we've never seen the third one. That was our introduction to the third movie.
and you guys, and you thought it was still bad.
It was. Yeah, it's funny that you say still bad because, like, again, we didn't see the original cut.
Yeah, the original cut is trash,
and we think this one's bad.
Well, it's just because like the main characters that you're supposed to feel for, they're just so like you can just see Al Pacino the whole time just being like, guys, help me.
Yeah, really,
like, he's acting his ass off, and everyone just
did you guys?
No, Papa.
I know this is off topic. Did you guys recognize Tuco in it? The ugly is in it as well.
Yes, he plays one of the Dons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he plays Don Antebello.
Yeah, Eli Wallach.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's besides the point. It's just, it's really good storytelling. It's smart storytelling, and it truly is a film for film lovers.
She's talking about part 1, by the way.
Part 1. Part 1.
Nice.
Well, I'll go next then. I'll keep it short. I'll keep it sweet. This is a great movie. I love it. I'll watch it so many more times probably. I would recommend it to anyone who's ever had 3 hours to do a thing. You should spend it watching The Godfather.
6 hours just to include the second one.
Yeah,
just to be safe.
Yeah, free up 6 hours out of your life and put this thing in you.
Hey, if you're willing to do it for Lord of the Rings.
That's it. That's all I got. I love it. It's a great movie, near perfect cinema.
All right, I'll go next. This movie was absolutely awful, and I hated every minute of it. No, I'm kidding. This movie was amazing. Great piece of cinema, film. There's so much to learn about just everything that is a film. You can learn it from this particular film. And like many great movies and films in particular, it's one of those movies that you can literally put it up in the background and just let it run. Whether you have sound or not, you still have a great time. One thing I didn't mention is the version that I did watch, I did not get almost anything because I did get a little bit of certain things, but didn't get fully the Italian parts because the version I saw did not have subtitles.
So
So
so interesting. Some Italian didn't have subtitles. That's just in parts. They just didn't have subtitles. 'Cause
mine
I
just
even
didn't.
had.
Mine just didn't.
Yeah, no. I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's certain sections that had subtitles and other sections that didn't. Regardless, if you, because I had the whole movie, I was like, I had the subtitles on, and there were places where it had the old stylistic font for subtitles in Italian. And then there were other sections where, even though I had subtitles on the whole movie, they weren't showing any subtitles whatsoever. So it was definitely a storytelling point of like, you don't need to know what they're saying in Italian, or unless you know Italian or you know enough Spanish to where certain words are similar. But yeah. Go on, Steve.
And with that little sidebar from Dino, I want to say that it's a great movie. We recommend it to everybody, including children that like to watch murder.
Like JP.
There are children in this movie, and it's so funny.
They don't murder the kids until the second part.
They don't murder. Do they do? Oh yeah, they when
yes.
His brother dies.
On
Spoiler.
Sheesh.
Oh gosh.
Okay. All right, my final thoughts. Amazing movie. It was one of those where I feel like when I would see it on TV, I'd be like, I'm just gonna watch it to this part, right? Because there are like so many iconic moments. So depending where it was, but then I would normally fall into like, okay, I can watch to this next part, and then next thing you know, it's like I'm too invested, and I need to watch the five families getting murked at the end. And so it's one of those. No matter what, I would end up watching it. Love this movie. Always recommend it to people. What else can you say? I'll watch it again and probably find some new shit.
True. And final thought for me, I'm the same with Dino. I'll watch literally YouTube clips online. Michaela can attest to this. Actually, there was a good while, like this was like either last year or 2 years ago, where I just watched a bunch of Godfather clips, and I was very vocal about, "Hey, do you guys own The Godfather? We should watch The Godfather." So, and the same with Goodfellas, Casino, those films as well. But yeah, like this film, like even though it is a mob and gangster movie, it doesn't feel like that at all. It's more of a great tragedy, if anything. And it's such a grand story as well. Like Jaden said, this is if it's not a perfect movie, it is a near perfect movie. And this film has very few flaws. I mean, the only thing that is glaringly like, is probably the stage combat between Sonny and Carlo. You see just for one moment that he misses him, but he reacts to it, which of course, if you could get past that, it's such a small. It's a nice movie mistake for movie fans. Like, he missed. He used the force.
I watched that scene. Not to cut you off, JP. The first time I saw that, I watched that scene probably 7 times in a row because of how it looked. Because I know he missed the punch and a couple of the hits, and I just needed to see it again.
Yeah. The kicks. Yeah, I mean, anyway, no,
go ahead.
I don't know. I was gonna. A lot of the scenes at time almost felt very, and I think because Isaac talked about how the camera there wasn't all that much movement. It felt very much like stage acting at times, or just that kind of idea of it. Since the cameras aren't moving so much, that it's way more intimate because it's just a couple people talking, right? And the shadows, it all seems a little more naturally lit in that people are talking and you don't see their faces and stuff like that.
Like the movie forces you to stay with these characters and like forces you to pay attention is like just there. So yeah, this film is basically like faults and all. It's one of the best films around. I recommend it to almost anybody. Probably not kids, but I'm sure. Don't tell mom and dad. You'll have a fun time too.
Are you kidding? This is like the film that like you're like as soon as your dad finds like the film that like you graduate to this. This is how such a dad film
no. It wasn't The Godfather, but I do remember seeing Goodfellas several times with my father. And then my dad had this weird obsession with The Lake House starring Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves. I'm sorry, Dad. It's one of your favorite films. I know it, but everyone thinks it's weird.
Wow. Okay. I feel like I gotta pick that movie next to get JP's dad to come and join us as a special guest.
Alright.
Jason, you got a question for Dez?
Do I have oh yeah, actually, so Steve, what do you got for us next week?
Next week? But why you put the cop lights on me? It's not my turn, you know. It's your turn, Jason. You go ahead. Pick.
So since it's my turn, I decided to go
Yeah, it's your turn.
I decided to go with Robert Duvall as my conduit into our next film because I appreciated his performance so much. So I decided to go with not only that, a Francis Ford Coppola film.
Ooh.
Did I give away enough hints? You guys know where I'm going? Next week, we'll be watching THX 1138.
He was in that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
I did not know that.
Can we find the original cut also, not
The Snyder Cut?
Yeah.
Well,
anyway, let's try and do that.
There's been some remasters to it
Right.
in the last 15 or 20 years.
30 almost, right? I mean,
Yeah, well, it should at least be in HD at this point.
right. I know. I feel like Coppola went and maybe added some other stuff. That's what I meant.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So next week we will enjoy a 1970s sci-fi movie, and we're gonna get into that kind of action.
Sounds great. So for Michaela, JP, El Dondino, Jason Echoes, and me, Steve Des TV, and Isaac earlier, and Naomi earlier, but you know, things happen. We'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Hey, I'm JP Cerno. Thank you for watching Oya Dimelo Network. Here's additional videos right here for you to click on, and don't forget to subscribe. Isaac has a puppy, and we need to take care of it.